Welcome back to Kairos Crypto. Right now, financial world and crypto market are sitting on several quite fault lines at the exact same time. The yen carry trade is creeping back towards the danger zone that triggered a massive flash crash 2 years ago. In Europe, a sweeping new regulatory framework just forced over 1,000 platforms offline, leaving 10 million users navigating a minefield of scams. Inside DeFi, simple configuration errors have wiped out tens of millions in user fund without a single hacker breaking in. And beneath the surface, Ethereum is quietly rethinking its foundation, borrowing architectural ideas from Bitcoin so that it can scale without breaking decentralization. On the surface, these look like completely unrelated headlines, but they aren't. They are different symptoms of the exact same structural vulnerability. Complex systems that look rock solid right up until their quiet baseline assumptions drift. And when the stress finally breaks through, it happens all at once. Let's start with the macro engine driving global liquidity. Japan. After the aggressive joint currency intervention by Japanese and US authorities in late July, the yen saw a sharp temporary rebound. But within just 2 weeks, the market wiped out nearly all those gains, pushing the currency right back towards 160 against the dollar. The reason is simple. The interest rate gap between Japan and the rest of the developed world remains wide open. Carry traders have been treating every dip as an invitation to rebuild short positions. We are talking about an estimated $1 to $4 trillion in global capital. That money doesn't just sit in the bank vault. It's heavily leveraged across global equities, corporate credit, and crypto markets. The mechanics are unforgiving. As long as the yen stays weak and volatility stays low, borrowing cheap in Tokyo to fund high-yield risk assets everywhere else looks like free money. But the moment the yen strengthens rapidly, the trade inwards. Funding those loans become instantly more expensive at the exact moment the underlying risk assets are tumbling. We saw the blueprint in August of 2024. A sudden move in the yen triggered a violent multi-day global sell-off, spiking volatility and dragging every correlated risk market down with it. Right now, mainstream markets aren't pricing in an immediate repeat as their base case, but the sheer volume of leverage sitting in this trade means even a moderate, unexpected shift in currency policy has enough gravitational pull to move prices worldwide. That same pattern, where a system quietly drifts until the friction becomes unavoidable, just played out across Europe under an entirely different guise. On July 1st, Europe's full MiCA framework officially went live. On paper, the goal was straightforward: clean up the market, establish clear rules, and protect everyday retail investors. But look at what actually happened during the transition. Roughly 1,700 platforms that had been operating legally under the old national rules were suddenly required to stop serving European users. By the time deadline hit, only a few hundred had managed to secure full authorization. That left an estimated 10 million crypto users with a ticking clock to move their assets. Mass migration windows are the ultimate playground for social engineering. Scammers moved in immediately, copying official migration notices, impersonating national regulators, and even faking communications from European Securities and Markets Authority itself. They directed confused users into fraudulent platforms and fake recovery portals. Both France, AMF, and ESMA had to issue urgent warnings to slow down the wave of theft. A regulation built specifically to make the ecosystem safer accidentally manufactured a massive attack surface against the very people it was designed to protect. The assumption was that millions of retail users would navigate a complex bureaucratic transition seamlessly. The reality was confusion, urgency, and exploitation. And if you think that kind of operational breakdown only happens in traditional bureaucracy or macro finance, look at what happens inside DeFi's most respected protocol. In February, a routine governance vote on the lending protocol Moonwell updated an Oracle wrapper connected to Chainlink, but whoever configured the update made a basic math error. Instead of taking the CB/ETH exchange rate and multiplying it by dollar price of Ethereum, the system fed only the raw exchange rate into the risk engine. The protocol's smart contracts were suddenly told that CB/ETH was roughly $1.12 when the actual market price was roughly around $2,200. The code didn't know the difference. Automated liquidation bots saw massive under-collateralized positions and executed instantly. More than 1,000 CB/ETH were seized, leaving the protocol holding nearly $1.8 million in bad debt. Less than 3 weeks later, a similar failure hit Aave, a synchronization error occur inside its CAPO pricing parameters when the snapshot ratio and timestamp fell out of alignment. That single mismatch caused wrapped STETH to be priced about 2.85% below its true market value. In a normal lending pool, a 3% variance might barely register, but in Awe's high leverage E mode, where margins are razor thin, that tiny pricing error was enough to push healthy account underwater. The result was that around 11,000 wrapped STETH worth roughly $26 million was liquidated across 34 user accounts. Liquidators walked away with about 518 protocol bonuses for seizing collateral on position that was never actually in danger. Neither of these incidents involve a zero-day exploit, a compromised Oracle network, or a flash loan attack. The smart contracts weren't broken. The risk engines simply trusted the numbers they were fed and executed their code flawlessly. The system failed because humans assumed the parameters governing the machines were static and safe. When you step back, the common thread across all three of these stories become impossible to ignore. Every modern financial architecture rests on hidden assumptions. The yen carry trade assumes currency volatility will stay subdued and interest rate spreads will remain wide. The MiCA rollout assumes an orderly transition with perfect communication. DeFi lending market assume pricing feeds will never suffer a formatting glitch or a timestamp drift. The moment any of those quite baseline conditions change, the automated systems and leverage positions don't absorb the shock. They amplify it. This brings us to what is happening at the base layer of crypto, where developers are trying to eliminate one of the biggest structural vulnerabilities in blockchain design before it hits a breaking point. Vitalik has laid out the roadmap for what he calls lean Ethereum. He described it as network's third major architectural evolution, on par with the merge designed to play out over the next 3 to 4 years. The core challenge Ethereum faces is state bloat. Right now, the network treats every single piece of data the same way. A complex multi-branch smart contract execution takes up room on validator nodes, but so does a simple $1 payment between two wallets. Over time, saving every single transaction permanently bloats the active state, making it harder and more expensive for regular people to run a node. Lean Ethereum proposes a radical split. Instead of forcing everyone through the same dynamic account model, the network keeps the complex model only for applications that genuinely need it. For routine activity like simple payments, basic token transfer, and NFT mints, Ethereum is looking to borrow architectural principle directly from Bitcoin's UTXO model, alongside the cryptographic concept like UTXO. Under this design, basic transfer become one-shot objects. Their existence is proven cryptographically from transaction history, meaning nodes only need to store a single bit confirming whether the asset has been spent. Research estimates that this change alone could reduce permanent state growth for those routine transactions by roughly 99.8%. That means the network can dramatically increase its throughput for every transaction without forcing validators to buy specialized data center hardware. Vitalik has been explicit. The entire point of this hybrid architecture is to keep node operations accessible to ordinary users and preserve true censorship resistance as network scales. It isn't a quick hype-driven fix, it's a multi-year structural overhaul of how the blockchain stores, verifies, and settles data. When you connect the dots, a clear picture emerges of where the market stands today. Global markets are still carrying trillions of dollars in fragile leverage that can unwind with little warning. Major regulatory shifts are creating temporary chaos that malicious actors actively exploit. DeFi is discovering that operational accuracy matters just as much as cryptographic security, and Ethereum is actively rebuilding its foundation to ensure that scaling doesn't come at the expense of decentralization. None of this means a sudden market crash or an instant breakthrough is guaranteed tomorrow. The yen could grind lower without an aggressive unwind. The dust from European regulations will eventually settle as migration paths stabilize. DeFi protocols will build tighter circuit breakers, and lean Ethereum will evolve as research turns into code. What matters right now is paying attention to what parameters holding these systems together. Watch interest rates spread between Tokyo and Washington, along with any fresh signals of currency intervention. Track how cleanly European crypto platforms finalize their compliance pipelines. Keep an eye on whether major DeFi protocols implement dual oracle checks and safeguard against parameter drift. And watch the research surrounding Ethereum's state architecture, because this is where real work of preventing long-term systematic fragility is happening. In finance and crypto alike, the real risk is rarely the threat everyone is shouting about. It is quite assumptions running in the background that nobody notices until they suddenly shift. If you found this breakdown valuable, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.